Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Storytelling That Sticks for Business and Life podcast. I'm going to dispense with my usual opening this time because if you've been listening to the past 47 episodes, by now you all know me. I'm Doug Stevenson, your virtual keynote, TED Talk, and storytelling and business coach. So let's get right to it, shall we? I want to talk about something in this episode that has come up more times than I can count over the last 20 years working with my students and coaching clients. What you may not know is that about 90 to 95% of the people who have come to work with me, who've attended my workshops and retreats, and who've hired me on an individual basis to work on their speeches, TED Talks, and stories are business people and entrepreneurs, people who have no intention or desire of becoming professional speakers, who simply see being a better storyteller as a way to stand out, to be more persuasive, to have more influence in their jobs and careers and businesses, but also know that they need new skills, new techniques, and in some cases, coaching, if they want to get where they want to go, and that being a really good storyteller is going to help them get there. So what comes up time and time again is that people find me online in a Google search or whatever, and they navigate around to my website or my YouTube videos, and that leads them to this podcast. And somewhere down the line, they take me up on my offer of a free 30-minute coaching call. And what I discover, what I keep hearing over and over again, is that they love my story theater method and the techniques that I teach, the acting stuff, the little acting stuff and the story structure stuff. The emotion is a fast lane to the brain idea, and they really want to do it. They want to tell stories the way they see me doing it on YouTube, like in my Authors at Google keynote and my other YouTube videos. But the stuff that I do naturally, the acting out moments in my stories, the dramatic pauses and emotion and uses of volume and movement, when they try it, it feels uncomfortable. The little acting moments and pauses. But that doesn't stop them from trying it, from telling a story this way, because they can see how powerful the techniques are. And so what people tell me is that they did it. They told a story using my techniques to their team members or clients or direct reports. And the bottom line is that they did a story like this and it worked. People were more engaged and they even got positive feedback. But, and this is the but it was still uncomfortable because this was new stuff. It was a stretch, this acting stuff and the emotion stuff. And while they enjoyed telling their story this way, they worried about what people would think about them being more theatrical. Even just a little bit. About using the dramatic pauses and being more emotional than usual. And so that leads me to the issue that keeps coming up time and time again, and it's this. How do you break the pattern? From the way you're used to giving a presentation or telling a story, how do you find the courage to break that pattern and do the kinds of things that you really want to do? Basically, to be more powerful and forceful and engaging without being self-conscious and feeling like they can see every little change that you're making and they're going to reject you or criticize you. For what? For being bigger, more emotional, basically more you? More you? Because what I'm giving you permission to do is to be more you, more authentically and joyously you, instead of holding yourself back, of being smaller than you are, of shrinking rather than expanding, of being less emotional, less joyous, less playful, less. Because every time someone accepts my challenge to be more courageous, more colorful and authentic, and yes, more theatrical, when people actually do it, they integrate this stuff and they do it, they love it. It's like it sets them free and releases them from this self-imposed prison of smallness. Oh, that is a great way of saying it. A self-imposed prison of smallness. And believe me, I know what that's like because if you haven't guessed by now, at my core, I am a rebellious, colorful, often outrageous, and yes, loud, and in some people's opinion, obnoxious guy. I'm big. My energy is big. And yet, when I started out in my speaking career, I took a look around at the male speakers that I emulated, the ones who were making a living doing it, who were my role models, and I did what they did. I wore a black suit with a white shirt and tie and black shoes. The only thing that I allowed myself to do that was at least a little bit colorful was with my tie. Oh my God, a tie. And so I found these really colorful Jerry Garcia from the Grateful Dead hippie ties. But that was it. They were really colorful. They were really awesome. So I was walking around in my own self-imposed prison of conventionality. And it just wasn't me. And it took me years to loosen up and lose the tie, to wear those red gym shoes that I told you about, and to slowly break the pattern of smallness that just didn't fit my personality. And this conventionality, this smallness, this uncomfortableness showed up once again in a coaching call that I had the other day with a woman who works in a corporate setting. Okay, so she's a manager in a large company and she's got a lot of direct reports. She found me online, watched my authors at Google Keynote, listened to my podcast. And so she decided, before she ever talked to me, she decided to incorporate a few of my techniques into one of her stories because she was struggling to get the people she was speaking to do what she wanted them to do, to get these engineers that she had to work with on board with the changes they needed to make. And so she told a story where she acted out a few small moments, which was a stretch for her, but she did it. She did it. And she even told me that she held a pause for a few beats longer than she'd ever done, just a few seconds, to emphasize an emotional moment, which she told me took all of her strength to hold for even a few seconds. But she did it. She did it. And she was so proud of herself. She was just beaming when she told me about it because she broke the pattern, her own pattern of being afraid, of holding back. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. Even though she did it and it worked, she told me that it worked, and the feedback was really positive, she was struggling with how to keep it going time and time again, to stand strong in her power in front of any tough audience, a room full of engineers or executives who, according to her, and you probably know this when you've made presentations, they just want the facts. They just want the facts. Just give me the facts. Don't give me all this other stuff. Just give me the facts. When what she wanted, what she needed to get across to them was why. Why is it important to make the changes? Not just to make the changes, but to understand why her customers were complaining. You know, at the end of the day, she basically said, you know, I am sick of being intimidated by these guys when the reality is I'm their boss. I mean, that's what she said. She said, this is ridiculous. I mean, I'm intimidated by these guys, but I'm their boss. I should be able to tell a story. I should be able to do what I want. I should be able to present what I want to present the way I want to present it because I'm their boss. They need to listen to me, but they keep wanting to shut me down and I get intimidated. And so I asked her, okay, what was the missing piece? What was holding you back and stopping you from standing strong in your power? And you know what? She was stumped. She didn't know. So then I asked her, where in your life do you feel most powerful outside of work? And even though she was in a senior position, she still had moments where she didn't feel her full power. And so she contemplated this question and she thought about it. And then she said, the place that I feel most powerful is as a mom. As a mom, I am in control, totally in control and powerful. You don't mess with mom. Can you relate? So the question I'm asking you is the same question I asked her outside of work. I want you to think about outside of work. Where do you feel most powerful? What activity, what hobby, what relationship, what place in your life do you feel absolutely in control, absolute power, no question? So I went back to her and I said, okay, the technique I want to suggest is that the next time you step in front of a challenging audience or any challenging situation for that matter, bring mom energy with you, mom confidence, mom control. This issue or problem or challenge or what have you is something that many, many, many of my students and coaching clients have faced. And I faced it as well. How do you feel as strong and powerful and in control in front of an audience, telling your stories and delivering your content as you do in other areas of your life where you feel powerful, where you don't question your authority, you don't question your strength? I remember a guy, a student of mine in one of my story theater retreats. He was an Olympic wrestler, okay? He literally was so good, he wrestled in the Olympics. And yet, here he was in my retreat, this hesitant speaker. When he told his story, he didn't know how to move to act out his story. And I told him, don't try and be a speaker, be a wrestler who speaks. He was trying to do what I was doing in the beginning, trying to do what other successful speakers do or look like or sound like. Can you relate? I mean, I did it myself. I tried to look like these other guys and do what these other guys were doing. I even tried to be really smart and do lots of content. I'm a storyteller. I'm an entertainer. And I got content, but my content is in my stories. You know what? We all come from different areas of proficiency. We all have core strengths and aptitudes outside of speaking. For me, it was acting and comedy. For you, it could be dancing or singing or sports or working on cars or carpentry or baking or cooking, being a mom or dad. Gosh, I've had military people, soldiers and pilots. There was this bull rider guy from Argentina who was pretty amazing. My friend Leanne Tiemann that you heard in one of my prior episodes, she was a nurse. I've worked with teachers and yoga instructors and firemen. And I once coached a guy, believe it or not, he came to my story theater retreat about, 15 years ago. He was a policeman in Kuwait. Can you imagine? We all bring different strengths forward into speaking. But what seems to happen to way too many people is that they get scared. How about you? They get scared. You get scared because telling a story is different than sharing content. Content might not be yours, but telling a story is personal. It's intimate and revealing. And so people tend to pull in when they need to push out. They shrink when they need to expand. They get smaller when they need to get bigger. When you're in front of an audience, you need to go big. You need to expand. You need to use more power. If you want to pull these people along, if you want to get them to pay attention, because if you just stand there and talk and you just do what you think you're supposed to do, you're boring. And boring doesn't cut it. So the challenge that I have for you today is that you find your power place. Find that place where you are fearless and free, powerful, without trying to be powerful. That most comfortable power place where nobody can touch you, where you are fearless. Find that place and then stand strong in your power. Find that place, recognize that place, find the power in that place, feel it, experience it, observe it, know what it is. And then when it is time to go forth and give a speech, bring that power with you when you speak. And the time that you bring the power forward is just before you speak. It's in your psychological and emotional preparation to speak. That's where you do it. You find that power in that half hour before you speak, inside of yourself. Know that nothing can touch that power because it's you at your most congruent and free. And then you step to the front of the room or the keynote stage or the boardroom or the training room or whatever, and you stand strong in your power. That's the lesson of this episode. Stand strong in your power. I want you to go onto your computer And I want you to go into Word or Publisher or whatever, and I want you to make a poster that says, stand strong in your power. I want you to do that. I want you to print it out. I want you to put it up in front of you. I want you to look at it all the time, and I want you to repeat it to yourself time after time. Stand strong in your power. Put it in your cubicle at work if you have to. Stand strong in your power. Because if you do that, if you transfer that power from running or baking or being a mom or dad or whatever, and you transfer that forward into when you're about to give a speech, you will give the speech of your life and you will blow people away and you will get the results you want. Stand strong in your power. All right, well, that's it for this episode. If you feel that you learned something valuable today, something that you can use that will make your story stick, stories that make you and your business memorable, marketable, and monetizable, there are 3 things I'd like you to do. First, click on the follow or subscribe button and leave a review wherever you listen. And second, share this podcast with your friends and coworkers, your email list, and on social media. And third, connect with me on LinkedIn. And when you're ready to get serious about taking your stories to the next level, or if you have an important speech, presentation, or TED Talk coming up, or if you want some guidance on how to make the transition to becoming a professional speaker, let's schedule your free 30-minute coaching session where we can get to know each other and see if we're a good fit. And as always, I'd love to hear from you with your questions and comments. Let me know that you're out there listening and learning. You can send an email with your questions, comments, and suggestions to Deborah@DougStevenson.com. That's Deborah, Deborah, @DougStevenson.com. Hey, thanks for listening. Until the next episode, I'm Doug Stevenson.